by reading Crimson Red. Oh, now I have the concept Crimson Red. Ooh, that's Crimson Red. You need to learn how to tell the differences. And that only comes with training. And you become better at it with experience and with repetition. Right? You had a question.
So, do you think that part of the reason that there's more Kantians than Humeans, when I say that, is because philosophy has been transmitted generally in declarative sentences and less in experiential learning?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that if philosophers have to undergo exercises like that, perceptual exercises, exercising the ears to distinguish subtler sounds, exercising, I don't know, right? It's a very good question. I never actually thought about it in detail, but I think it's a very good question about pedagogy, how to teach things, including things that are supposed to be purely conceptual. Because otherwise, yes, you introduce a bias into philosophy towards a certain kind of knowledge, which is very real. This knowledge is very real. Factual knowledge is very real. But this is also very real. And we disregard it, and as we were going to talk a little bit on Wednesday, it is also a little bit of a class issue. People that work with their hands are not normally appreciated for what they do. We like the wooden cabinets they make, but we wouldn't like your daughter marrying a carpenter, just to put it in a very rough way. They're always, if you have to work with your hands and you have abilities, you're typically not from the upper class, right? And unless you're a musician, or a classical painter whose abilities are respected by the upper class. But if you're an artisan who has a lot of know-how about how to shape metals into works of art, or how to shape wood into works of art that are of utilitarian use, they may appreciate your products, but they don't appreciate your knowledge. Certainly philosophers never even think about this, the artisanal knowledge as it is.
Doesn't knowing that come from knowing how, though? And won't the skilled person eventually make a declarative sentence about the nature of wood?
Well, it's a good question too. Some people, and you probably have experienced this with your teachers, particularly if you go to art school. There are some art teachers who are very good artists, but really bad teachers. Have you ever met one of those? I mean, that you see their paintings or you hear their music and you go, wow, I would like to learn from this guy. But the moment he starts trying to articulate it, the guy is a complete, he can be really good. He knows how to paint, or he knows how to compose, or he knows how to play an instrument, but he just doesn't know how to articulate it. And there are a few skillful artists who can do both. They happen to be very good at what they do. They know how to paint, they know how to compose music, or how to sculpt, or how to dance, and they also know how to articulate that for their students. In other words, they can make the transition from one to the other. And those are the best teachers, because they have experience and they are articulate. On the other hand, there can be teachers that only have experience, and they are not very articulate, so you don't even understand what they're saying or what they're trying to say, and the guys get totally exasperated because they know how to do it, but they don't know how to put it into words. And the same thing with athletes, right? Some athletes are very good at swimming, or very good at running, or very good at jumping the bar, but they could not be a good coaches later on because they don't know how to articulate it. Other swimmers know that if you stick your elbow too much, you create too much friction, so you could shave off a couple of seconds of your swimming record by keeping your arms a little lower. And so when they become coaches, they detect that on the trainees, and they go, hey, look, you're sticking your elbows a little too much. And they use knowing that to train and develop knowing how. That doesn't mean that they are still not separate, because some guys cannot do both. Only a few guys can do both. At least in my experience in art school, when I was in art school, the majority of my teachers couldn't explain what they did at all. Right? They were good at lighting a set, for instance. I went to film school. but they couldn't explain to you how to do it in words. And of course, as a student, you know, you want shortcuts. You want the guy to give you some recipes, some things that you can take home in the form of a bunch of words, you know, even though you still know you're going to have to light a bunch of sets for real. And it's not until you light and fail many times that you begin learning from your errors and lighting the set properly. Right? So I introduced this a little bit out of order from what I was trying to say before, because what I was trying to say in response to your question is that the Eskimo that knows how to tell 29 different types of snow apart, that's a skill, can also use words to teach his kids or her kids, right? It's much, particularly as mnemonic devices. Look, let's call this yellow snow pee-pee snow. You know, and now the word gets stuck in the kid's mind, and unless it's like the kid is like a total lunatic, he's not going to be eating pee-pee snow. And so now you tell her this is igloo snow. It's compact enough and tight enough that it's good to make bricks for igloos. And this other snow is don't walk on top of it snow, because it seems like you can walk on top of it, but it's actually a trap. It's like you know, it looks solid, but it's not solid. You can die. And so many times you want your kid to learn about not walking on snow, or snow that doesn't afford you the opportunity to walk, reduced to one word, non-walkable snow, before he actually drowns on the snow, right? So you want to tell him, look, I'm going to take you there and you're going to start drowning a little, but I'm going to first tell you the name of that. Creepy snow, you know, or dangerous snow, so that he gets into his mind that that category goes. So in other words, both can go together, but we still need to make the distinction of whether you perceive things because you categorize them, or you perceive things because your habitual and routine action has made you develop both habits and skills relative to which the world now seems ordered. In other words, when a baby is born and he's less than 2 or 3 months old, his field of experience is basically raw intensities, according to Hume. Then the baby begins to see that there are certain habitual or routine correspondences. Whenever you see your mother's face, the eyebrows are always on top of the eyes are on both sides of the nose, and the nose is on top of the mouth. And you see her the following day, and the same spatial relationship obtains. After a month or 2 months of seeing that face that way, if your mother comes in with a mouth here, and here, and a nose over here, the kid is going to totally freak out, right? Because habit has now told him that it is routine to expect a face to remain in the same spatial disposition. The same thing, the kid will associate things by resemblance to things that are similar today will still be similar tomorrow. And according to Hume, the third form of habit is a temporal sequencing. Whenever you light up a match and put it up to a paper, the paper lights up, so you learn causality. A lit match to a paper causes fire in the paper. Or my arm pushing an object causes the object to move. After you have learned that by crawling around the room and by manipulating objects and by grasping and by playing with your mother and playing with your little toys, by doing things, you learn habits, and it is thanks to those habits that your experience becomes stabilized and becomes what we are seeing right now. So, to summarize, for Kantians and neo-Kantians, the structure of experience, what stabilizes experience, is the systematicity of language. The systematicity of language is what gives systematicity to experience. For Hume, the systematicity of raw intensities comes about by the systematicity or the methodic